This is Friday, November 4th, 4 days until the 2016 presidential election between Secretary Clinton, representing the Democrats, and Donald Trump, representing the Russians. And this is the closer. As we sit here waiting for today's newest story about the FBI improperly, immorally, and illegally trying to interfere with next Tuesday's elections, this question: when should we reclassify the form of the government of the United States from democracy to fascism? I mean, do we wait until the prospective inauguration next January of a president who does not seem interested in our Constitution? Or, if the FBI is already trying to help one party seize control of our government, technically is that good enough to just cut to the chase and say we are already living in a goddamned fascist state? Should we just admit that next Tuesday is not an election to try to prevent fascism and a dictatorship here, but one that is trying to get a woman elected who will fight back against the national detectives who have already decided freedom here is secondary to what they want and who they like? The latest FBI nightmare broke last night, although a newer one might have broken since you started watching this, so you should check. Reuters reported that the Bureau is so out of control that its hapless director, James Comey, shouted fire in a crowded theater a week ago today for fear that if he did not, somebody else in his clown college would by means of leaking. The news service also reported, quote, two enforcement sources familiar with the FBI's New York field office, which initially discovered the emails, said a faction of investigators based in the office is known to be hostile to Hillary Clinton. To me, that's grounds to, close the FBI's New York field office, fire everybody in it, bring in some placeholder agents from elsewhere to investigate actual, crimes, while a special prosecutor investigates how many of the fired New York field office employees have violated the Hatch Act by acting politically during an election season. And I mean if they're acting politically for Trump or for Clinton. The moment a nationwide policing operation is corrupted by politics, right, left, or middle, it's goddamned fascism. But of course, all the other nightmares from the FBI suggest they're not acting left or middle. Yesterday, the estimable Wayne Barrett of the Daily Beast underscored a timeline that nearly all of us had missed. As Barrett noted, last Wednesday, goddamned Rudy Giuliani, who has, face it, gone crazy, told Fox News that his boy Trump had, quote, got a surprise or two that you're going to hear about in the next few days. I mean, I'm talking about some pretty big surprises. We've got a couple of things up our sleeve that should turn this thing around. 2 days later, Comey's statement. Coincidence, no doubt. Reporter Barrett also noted that Giuliani and his friend, the former New York FBI Chief James Kallstrom, had both boasted of being in contact with active FBI agents about Secretary Clinton. Active agents are not supposed to be talking to a man employed as a surrogate by a political campaign. Active agents are not supposed to be talking to anybody outside the agency about a presidential candidate. Active agents are certainly not supposed to be talking to a man like Kallstrom, who runs a charity that took more than $1 million from Trump's hissy-fit charity telethon during the Iowa Republican primary. It's against the goddamned law. Although why should they worry about the law? They're the goddamned FBI agents, and they think they should run this country without annoying interference from you or me or the goddamned laws. Some of them also appear to be idiots. Tuesday, the New York Times revealed that in August, the Bureau had descended to the stage of, to borrow Generalissimo Trump's phrase, all I know is what's on the internet. The FBI's poking around the Clinton Foundation, which found nothing, quote, was based mostly on information that had surfaced in news stories and the book Clinton Cash, according to several law enforcement officials briefed on the case. Clinton Cash! Clinton Cash, the book, written by Peter Schweitzer, an editor of the right-wing nutjob goddamn fascist website Breitbart? Or Clinton Cash, the movie, produced by Stephen Bannon, then chairman of the right-wing nutjob goddamn fascist website Breitbart, before he took a cut in prestige to run Trump's goddamn campaign. Basing an investigation on Clinton Cash. What, because there weren't any comic books available on the subject? This is not just fascism, this is idiot fascism. And that is the one shining hope on the ever-darkening horizon. Yes, Trump admires dictators, and he was saddened that arrested terrorist suspects get food or medical care, and he calls protests by abused minority groups race riots, and he wants to automatically deport any undocumented American merely accused of a crime, and he wants national stop and frisk and racial profiling and a religious test for people entering the country, and he wants to curb the First Amendment. But he is also stupid enough to still say in Jacksonville yesterday, quote, "I'm also honored to have the greatest temperament that anybody has," as if he won an award for it, as if there had been a worldwide ranking of all 7 billion people. Well, hell, maybe one of the voices in Trump's head actually told him he had received an award for it. And all we should be hoping for is that one of the other voices in Trump's head should now tell him he has no effing clue what the word temperament means. And while I will not walk back by an inch my contention that the best historical match to the campaign this Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade balloon in a suit is running is the one that Adolf Hitler ran in 1932 and 1933. I'll also continue to insist that Trump is still far dumber than he looks, and he looks radiantly dumb. It was neither irony nor subtle strategy that made Trump send his spectacularly dense wife onto the campaign trail yesterday, where she vowed that as First Lady, she would advocate against the parts of social media that are too mean and too tough and filled with insults based on looks and intelligence. And 318 million Americans simultaneously wondered if this woman had ever met her own husband, or whether she was capable of understanding that if abusing people's looks and intelligence on Twitter were a crime, her husband would be serving the first of 147 consecutive life sentences. So yes, we already live in a goddamn fascist state, with the FBI trying to choose the next president and the would-be First Lady coming out and advocating some kind of First Amendment-altering monitoring of your social media, and that should make you goddamned angry. To paraphrase one of the great speeches of all time, all I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm an American citizen, goddammit. My democracy has value. But when you get mad this weekend, get mad with gusto and vigor and confidence instead of depression or anxiety or panic. These people, Trump, Giuliani, Bannon, Comey, the FBI, that Madame Tussauds version of a would-be First Lady, these people are fascists, fearful fascists, but they are also morons, and we can beat morons. We can beat morons with the weapons still left to us. The ballot, and your efforts to convince just one other person you know to vote in defense of their birthright and in defense of democracy and against morons, against goddamn fascist morons. That's the closer. I'm Keith Olbermann. Watch this space.